I'm Jamie, I'm the co-founder of Meaningful Planet. We're an eco-impact business which takes the everyday consumer spending and puts it back into the environment. When I first started out, my whole career was focused around UI UX design, so I made a lot of apps and websites. 1 in 10 people in the UK has used an app made by me. But during the period of building stuff for other people, I started to want to build something for myself and do some work on the environment to hopefully build a better planet for everyone. I built a business and started working on improving biodiversity in Scotland and then in the UK. I helped with the environmental law that came into place in February this year. After I closed my last business and sold it off, I started a new business which is focused on taking the everyday spending of the consumer and put it into big environmental projects so that we can have a positive impact on the environment, and that's Meaningful Planet. Maybe there's more we could do for the environment than what we currently have. Maybe there's something that everybody can do. What if we could take the everyday spending that people won't normally do, put 10% of the revenue, not profit, revenue, back into the environment itself, and then we can have an outsized impact on what we do there. The first one, I had loads of people around me, and we had funding and projects that we could go after. With the second one, it was like starting from scratch again. But the reason why I wanted to do it, so although I've made a lot of products in my time, it's still good to go back to your basics and understand what to do in there. What the program gives me is taking me back to basics, keeping me honest in that respect, get a degree out of it at the same time. During that, you also meet a load of other people who can help challenge your ideas and what you're thinking in there and hopefully move you forward. We're revenue generating now, which is good. Initially, I came into all of this thinking, well, what if I make a mobile network that plants trees? When I tested that, terrible idea. But if you flip the narrative, so the narrative is we're an eco-impact business that happens to have a mobile network, that's a different proposition. And that's really key to the customers and demographic that we want to use our system. And it also enables our business to flex and grow into different industries and different areas as well. So although we have a mobile network at this current point, we can also go into broadband, we can also go into other services as well. The whole idea of what we do is we take 10% of the revenue and put it into projects which have an outsized impact. Rather than planting a single tree, which gives you 25 kilograms of carbon dioxide removed from the air, you could plant seagrass, which gives you 625 kilograms of carbon dioxide removed from the air. Planting seagrass is 25 times better than planting a tropical forest. And you can do that near the Isle of Wight. And you could do other things around the UK landscape to have a positive impact on the environment which is there. We have 12 projects across the UK where all the revenue that we generate goes back into those projects itself. So you can actually go and visit those projects. There's a couple coming on in London, and there's a couple which are near me up in Peterborough, there's a couple near the Isle of Wight, a couple in Yorkshire as well, but they're all varied and different. So rather than just planting trees, we're looking at reintroduction of species. We're looking at regeneration of landscapes in there as well. Because if we can help nature come back, we can also reduce our carbon footprint, but we can also create a healthier landscape for everyone. We built our system on EE because what we didn't want to lose was the quality and service for everyone. On that as well, we also try to make sure that we've got, the basics covered. There's 51 countries covered by our roaming. And what we're working towards is having a world sim where, why is roaming a thing? Why can't we just get rid of roaming and you just go where you need to go? When we started, we were just focused on consumer. Almost within a couple of weeks of our release, people are asking us if we could do business sims. So now we're building up for B2B while also trying to have a load of products in the pipeline that can have an outsized impact, because if we have an impact in the mobile network, maybe we can do other things. If we could do the same thing that we're doing with mobile that we can do with broadband, then that's even better, right? You don't have to change your behavior, you don't have to change your eating habits or anything else along those lines to have a good impact. You can stick to what you normally do, but just make one choice. Choose to switch to us. We've got about 12 in total with a couple of advisors in there. We've got a really great group of people who are devs and designers and product managers. We're all pushing towards the same thing. It doesn't feel like they work for the business. It's just like they're working with the business. But it's all about the moment that we can show bigger, tangible impact, that justifies the work that they're doing. It justifies the work that everybody else is doing by joining the network. And what I'm really looking forward to is bringing the other products online and how that changes our thinking and how much more we can do. It's a really simple concept, really, is that you just take the everyday products that people use and you just make them better, just make them greener. But what we found when we were interviewing users was that they expected to pay 10 to 15% more for a product like ours, which is really interesting. We don't cost it at 10 to 15% more, we cost it cheaper than the main networks. We also aren't the cheapest. If we can just offer a good quality of service and we do something for the environment at the same time, that's more than enough of a USP to get people on board in there. Because then you can see where the money's going. You could go out to some of the projects in London or Cambridgeshire or Yorkshire and go and physically see what's going on there. We have 44,000 kilograms of carbon dioxide removed from the air from the users that we've got so far, which isn't a lot, but it's a start, and it's a starting process of the business in there. So it's still good to sort of see those impacts, that's for sure. Just 1 month. And we have businesses wanting to come online as well, use our system. The thing with business is that it's not just one sim, it's lots of sims. So you get orders of 100 sims in there. The usage might be low, but every little counts towards it in that respect. It's a marginal gains approach. So if we can get some money out of any contract, then it all goes back into the environment, and it helps those businesses work towards their environmental sustainability goals, but also like creating a better environment for everyone. So the guys which are there, it's all equity based at this current point. Bootstrap, I think, is the terminology that we all use, isn't it? There are obviously fees to pay to the main networks in there that we have to do, but that's all funded by me and my co-founder. So we're all self-funded at this current point. After 3 months since we started building the business, we had investors messaging us and asking us what we were doing. So we actually have quite a healthy investor list. We've spoken to a lot of investors and we've revised our pitch deck over and over. So we're going to start to go back out to investment very soon. When we go out to investors this time, we have a heavily tested pitch deck, which is quite nice. We have users, so that means traction. We have a product, which we didn't have before. And we have B Corp pending because we're under 12 months, but in a couple of months it will be full B Corp. The main thing for me was to be with other people on the same journey. Even though our products aren't the same, everybody's still on the same journey and we're still pushing each other towards the same goal, and that is to build our business and solve the problems that we're trying to solve. What was really useful about Oneday was it gave me the framework to build on. Having built my own business before, having worked in product before, I feel like I knew chunks of it. But what I didn't know was how to go out to market with that product itself, how to sell that product, how to do, I guess, any of the marketing or any of the ancillaries or smaller parts around building a business. Because initially when you start, you're making a product, but you need to build that product into a business. And those are two different things in there. In some ways, it was very much like starting from scratch. I had the idea coming into it, while I was confident that I could do the MBA and this at the same time, but also having the network around us as well, which is quite good. I like to think that we're all learning from each other about different things. I've got people in my cohort which are really good at marketing and sales. I like to think that I'm good at design, so they come to me and ask me about design. So it all sort of feeds off of each other in there as well, which I think is quite nice. I think me and Juan hit it off almost immediately, which is quite nice. For me, he plugs the gaps which I don't know. Having someone who's gone through the process and actually built a business and is still running the business in there, along with other mentors which are on the course as well, is really powerful because they're still going through the same process, they're still learning, and they're still experimenting with own systems. Although I haven't pivoted from my initial idea, like I've seen other people on my cohort have pivoted, and they've pivoted to much stronger and better solutions in there. It's the experimentation process and not being afraid to fail, which is key. That's what it brings in there, is this playground to experiment and learn something. Providing you learn something, you might have learned how not to do it, but you might have learned how to do it or what's the success. There's always something in there that can help you grow the business. And I think that's where the mentor comes in. I think that's where other people in the cohort come in as well. They'll often come in and go, oh, I tried it this way with my thing. It maybe didn't work for me, or it did work for me. Why don't you try this one out? Because you can always get an extra insight into innovation there, which is always super powerful. Pre-seed. So we've already got SEIS and EIS assurance, so we can go out for pre-seed investment. I think the proposition that we've got is powerful and hopefully resonates with people. I think what's really interesting about stuff which is done on the environment, we often think of it as like a big government global problem, but actually if we just distill it down or flip it around, we end up with a solution which multiple people can solve just by doing one or two things. And then that big problem isn't so much of a big problem anymore because we've got marginal gains across everybody in there. So what we often see within anything which is with the environment, companies or governments make pledges on doing this, that, and something else. Then they'll roll back those pledges, change the funding amount or something else along those sort of lines. When I was working on the environmental bill that came in, that was delayed and delayed and delayed, and then it finally came in February. But it got moved out quite a few times. That's always the hardest part of it, because you end up with eco-anxiety, like, what's the world that I'm leaving behind for everybody else in there? If you change the rules on what controls you, you change the rules on what you can control, which is always a great little quote that I use quite a bit, because that enables you to sort of shift the paradigm of what's going on there, and can evolve, and you can help the environment in a different way that people didn't think could be done in there. Like, yeah, I can change my energy supplier, or I can recycle a little bit more. But what else can you do? Not much is what most people think, but the simple things like the tea bag that I've got in my tea over there, that probably shouldn't go in the bin. And it should go on your plants, because your plants are normally used to acidic soil, which is put out by tea. So rather than putting your tea bags in the bin, put them on your house plants, and then your plants will live longer and you don't need to fertilize them or give them any extra food and stuff like that. Little things like that can help the environment, help air quality at the same time. If we solve all these little problems just with everybody, then we don't need to rely on governments making pledges to something which is only going to get rolled back. We can solve a problem like this. It's not by just planting loads of trees, because you'll run out of land, but it's also looking into the ocean, seeing what you can do there, seeing what the habitats are that are around you and trying to improve those themselves, being just more efficient. We need new structures for our ways of living. That's more important now than it's ever been.